All right, welcome back to another episode of the Fresh Squeeze podcast. I'm your host for today, Jeremy, here with Justin. And today, for episode 14, we're talking about our highs and our lows of school and kind of just our overall opinion of, what we didn't like, what we do like about it, just our feelings on certain aspects of school and the like. So
yeah, this is obviously something that everybody has an opinion on.
yeah,
Everybody has to go to school for 12 years
for
of
at
their
least
life.
12 or 13 years, yeah.
And so, as it does everybody, we have strong opinions about the school system. And we also just have experiences and to relate about our time in the, mostly public school.
Yeah.
So, start us off. What you got to say first?
All right. Well, let's just start it off and say that I think everyone can agree that I think that out of the three, now at least here in America, out of the three, elementary, middle school, and high school, everybody knows high school is the best part.
In a way, yeah.
I think 100% because you know what you're doing when you get there. Like, you've had all this time to get in a groove, get in the school groove, and then by the time you go to high school, you're in it for the long run. You're almost done too, and honestly, and especially now, like when you're in middle school and elementary, like things get progressively harder.
Well, yeah.
Whereas I feel like in high school, even though it made it seem like I feel like things got progressively easier because you were finishing more things since you were close to getting done. Okay. That's why I think high school is the best part.
Yeah, I think that's an interesting thing to say because I think for some people, high school is either, a positive experience or it was the worst years of their life.
Yeah.
So, hey, also to give a little background, you maybe want to give a review of how you experienced the school system over your 12-year career. Maybe like what kind of school system you were in.
Oh yeah.
And just give a little review of. Oh, I started here in kindergarten. Ended here in 12th grade.
Yeah. So, me and Justin's school experience is pretty similar, but also a little bit different. So like, I went to kindergarten, and then we went to I think it's considered a charter school or whatever.
Or yeah, it
charter
has a
public.
specific
It's
word.
some sort of name.
It's not a regular public school.
No, it wasn't a public school, but it wasn't a private school, so I don't know what it's called. But so I started there in kindergarten, and I stayed in that school all the way until I was in 9th grade freshman year.
Kind of a long time.
So almost in all of school, I was in that same school system, and it was overall it was good. Who doesn't love? Elementary school is so easy. It's nothing hard. You're really just doing like basic math. You still got recess.
Yeah.
So how can you hate that?
We had recess until
sixth grade. Yeah. So basically, you get 5 years of straight vibing on recess. So obviously, middle school. Elementary school is really easy, and then I will say I think my favorite year out of all elementary school was probably 3rd grade. Is a banger of a year. It just is.
You want to elaborate on that? Why is that?
I don't know. I just feel like 3rd grade. Not only did I have probably one of my favorite teachers ever, but also I don't know. I feel like 3rd grade is really when you get like the step up from like the little kid stuff. You're still a little kid, but like it's not just like basic math, ABCs, like stuff that I feel like you get through kindergarten through 2nd grade. I feel like 3rd grade is like the first real transition into like more. I'm not gonna say adult, but it's just more like the next tier of like stuff. Well, I feel like I learned a lot of cool things, like whether it was about like nature or like science or like I don't know, history. I feel like you just learn a lot of. I feel like a lot of the big things that you remember, or that I remember from school, came from like 3rd grade in that area. Because I feel like it's almost when like you just get so much burst knowledge that you learn, and I feel like it just stays.
Yeah, but besides basic skills and knowledge, you don't really remember much from the first few years of school.
No, like
you got ABCs, you got addition and subtraction.
Yeah, I would say with like grades like kindergarten to 2nd grade, I feel like, I mean, do I remember, like, obviously, yeah, I remember the basic stuff, but, like, I feel like with those grades, you remember more or less, like, just, like, the experiences, the memories you had, rather than, like, the lessons that you learned, I feel like, in almost
True.
a way. But then, like, yeah, third grade upwards was good. Um, but then after ninth grade, I was like, I want something, I was getting a little tired of where I was. We'll get into that later.
Yeah.
And I was like, I want something new, I want something different. So, for my final 3 years of school through 10 through 12, me and Justin both went there, but we went to a vocational school.
Vocational, yes.
So, and we both went into a certain trade or career, and it was great. Yeah, it was probably the best decision I've ever made. So
Nice. So, out of those, you did say that you enjoyed third grade. Which grade was your favorite? Would you say it was that one?
like over like ever.
Like you have the most positive experience from?
I would say there's a couple. I would say it's either third grade, sixth grade, or 11th grade.
Okay.
I mean, I obviously
Nice and spread out
yeah.
there.
Like, okay, now obviously everyone loves being a senior, but being a senior is straight. It's just great. It's so easy. So
Yeah,
I mean that's an obvious choice. But
if you have a bad senior year, that's all your
that's
fault.
all your fault because it's hard to yeah. But other than senior year, yeah, 3, 6, and 11 were my favorite years. I think.
Okay. Solid.
Yeah.
So, we kind of have the same. We kind of had the same track of schooling.
Yeah.
For me, I actually started out from kindergarten to second doing homeschool. And because, I don't know, maybe my parents thought I wasn't ready for society or something. But at least I didn't turn into some completely weird sheltered
Just not
kid.
ready for human interaction.
But by the time I got to third grade, I was like, wow, I'm going to associate and learn with other children. Which was, all in all, probably the best decision for me, so I knew how to work within society. Not saying there's anything wrong with homeschool kids, but anyway. But yeah, I started in third grade, and I was at the same school as Jeremy up to ninth grade as well. And so had kind of similar experiences as you did, some of the same teachers. So we were always like kind of in the school bubble at the same time.
And since we're only 3 years apart, I would usually see Justin around school anyway.
Yeah, sometimes.
Up until like, well, not all the time. Like obviously when we were in the same building for elementary to middle, we saw each other. But then like when Justin moved into high school, that was a different building, and I was still in the elementary middle, so we didn't see it as much. And then obviously when you left and for after ninth grade. So.
Yeah, because at one point we had different middle and high school buildings, and end up getting split up at one point.
Yeah,
and we'll talk a little bit more on our opinions on our middle school and later high school years. We'll get to that in a little bit. And so after ninth grade, I also went to the same vocational school for 10 through 12. And yeah, that was very enjoyable.
Yeah, 10 out of 10.
It was a very, very great experience. I can see in my school progression, I'm glad I had a few different experiences.
Yeah.
Especially on the ending, because I'm glad we got I felt proud of senior year.
Yeah, like all that you had accomplished up until then.
Like these past few years, I've really been learning some great skills.
Yeah, I
and
feel the same.
I'm proud to be graduating from this place.
Yeah, like I said, after I was done with ninth grade, like, I had to make a decision. I was like, yeah, do I want to stay here or do I want to go to this other vocational school? And like, I mean, if I would have just stayed there, I mean, it would have just been like, I guess we consider like the normal school experience.
Yeah.
And I was like, I mean, yeah, that's okay. But after I went there, I was like, yeah, I'm so glad I didn't stay there because, yeah, I feel like I just learned so much more. Like, I learned what I would have plus extra.
Yeah.
And it was just more enjoyable that way.
Sure. And so, yeah, again, with making our high school adjustment to this vocational school, it's not that, especially for our younger years, our first school was not bad in any way. It was very small. Not many people knew about it because it wasn't like our city school.
No, yeah. It wasn't in
where
our
everybody's
city.
like, oh, you live in this town, so you must go to this school.
Yeah.
Where like we went to the alternate school.
Yeah.
So whenever you ask, someone's like, "Where do you go?" They're like, "I don't know where that is," but
Yeah, because it wasn't even in our town. It was like the next town over or whatever. So yeah, and it literally was like the total of like elementary to high school. It like from like kindergarten to senior, like there was only maybe like 300 kids.
Yeah.
I mean, some people were like, yeah, I had a graduating class of like 500. I'm like, that's more than 12, 13 grades in our entire school system. So
sometimes the for the school, the graduating class would be like 15 kids.
Yeah. So it's like, yeah, our school was definitely on the smaller side.
So that's exact kind of like this served our purpose for us, but we don't necessarily need to finish out and graduate from this place.
Yeah.
If I may, I guess I can transition into my next state of schooling.
Yeah,
and then we can go back and focus on
some certain years,
how we felt about our schools, and then maybe our low point as well.
Yeah.
And then we'll get to some of our other points there.
Yes.
So
go ahead, Justin.
Really, I graduated high school about 5 years now.
Oh my goodness!
Look at that. I'm getting up there.
Yeah.
So, and then after a year after I graduated, I went to college for about it was called a 2-year program.
Yeah.
And I just finished that about a year ago. And what's great about college is it's a lot different from high school, kind of in most ways. Most people, when you're in high school, your counselor is like, "Oh, you gotta prepare for college. It's gonna be so intense, and it's gonna be so grown up."
And even the teachers, both the counselors and teachers are always like, "It's gonna be unforgiving.
It's gonna be intense."
Yeah.
Which, in a way, it's an adult atmosphere.
Yeah.
But for me, I even though I enjoyed my vocational training, I almost felt like I benefited and enjoyed this even more in a college setting.
Yeah.
Because also for adults who tell little kids, "Oh, enjoy while you're in high school now. You're gonna regret when you graduate and you're an adult." Well, I've been graduated for 5 years and I'm loving adult life. So.
Yeah. Now, like, I'm not gonna say that. Well, but like, especially since my last few years of school, I did enjoy. So I don't sit here like, man, I still wish I was in high school. Because no, I do not wish I was still in high school.
No.
I'm glad I'm graduated. But there are definitely times or memories, good memories that I have of things that happened during class or during school that I do miss.
Yeah.
Just because like, whatever it was, is I enjoyed doing it, or something fun happened, or stuff that I do miss that you would experience only in school. But I don't miss just the school as an entirety.
Very true. It's almost like maybe most people say you'll miss your adolescence than
Yeah.
you will getting up at 6 a.m. to go to school every day.
Because nobody misses that. Who does that?
But so a little bit more on college, when you go there, you're obviously going there because you want to.
Yeah.
You get to pick kind of what you want to learn. And when you want to go,
Yeah.
when at school they're like, well, nowadays mostly they're like, here's your schedule, this is what you're being taught, deal with it.
Yeah.
And so, all in all, for my community college I went to, it was very worth it, and really built on my vocational and scholastic skills.
Yes. There you go.
So if you ever get going in the in the college degree,
because
don't be scared.
Yeah, well, because I graduated, like, it's been almost, well, actually, like, this month it'll be 2 years ago. And now, if things had been different with what's going on, I may have been in college right now. Who knows? But because when I graduated, I initially I had taken a year off just to kind of I've been doing school for 13 years. Let me just take some time, just go out. I mean, I was like 19 years old. We go out, have some fun, do some things,
Same thing I did.
Spend some time with some friends, some family, see some places, and I did that. But then, originally I think the plan kind of had maybe been, to do what Justin did, was after the year, go community college, 2-year degree, something like that. But then obviously COVID hit, and now that's not happened.
At least not
right
in
now.
person.
Yeah.
I mean,
And
if you really had motivation, you could have done online.
yeah, but at the same time, like, motivation.
Well, that's also the thing. I would consider myself a studious and uh, personally motivated individual.
Yeah.
Even
Justin's
though,
definitely more motivated than I am.
so with college, it's like I may not want to do all this, but things will just go better if I just push through.
Yeah, I mean, I know you have to do some things, but obviously it doesn't mean you ever enjoy it and want to. But see, what I think I wish college was like was you go and only do the thing that you are trying to learn. So
Yeah.
let's say I go for IT, cybersecurity, networking, something like that. If I were to go, I would want to have classes and take classes that are either only that or specifically pertain to that subject.
I definitely agree with that.
Because the fact that what just annoys me is it's the fact that you have to go to college. Let's say you're learning like mechanics or IT or you did commercial art or whatever you do, and they're like, okay, now you got to take history, you got to take English, you got to take math. It's like, this is not high school. It's like, I mean, I know it's supposed to be like furthering your education, but like, I don't know. I just wish you could just only do that core subject.
Yeah, I definitely. Let's focus on a second how maybe kind of give it our opinions on if we were in charge, how we would format the school system.
Yeah, now obviously, I mean, I'm sure there's things that we don't know that have to do with like school regulations or whatever, but
well, that's the problem I have.
Yeah.
With. Sure, there's truly important things that you need to learn about.
Yeah.
But then I definitely think the way that school regulation works is very skewed and very
unoptimized.
That's a great word.
Unoptimized.
Yeah.
The school, at least the American school experience could definitely be way more optimized than what it is currently.
Fantastic way to say that. Yeah. Especially in high school.
Especially, I know I would say especially in upper middle school and high school. Yeah, but that's I feel like towards the end of middle school, like 7th and 8th grade is like really when it starts to ramp up and you start to see those like college level like questions and types of subjects really coming in.
Now, like we say, different schools and different kinds of schools are different.
Yeah, every school has a different kind of curriculum.
Have a different curriculum. I guess every state has like a mandate of like a guideline of things you kind of have to teach
of like
your
certain
students.
topics and certain
But
I'm sure there's some sort of like national teacher organization that's like these are the topics every school in the United States must learn.
And I think that when thinking about things that have to be taught in school, I feel like I don't know how things were 30 years ago.
Yeah.
But nowadays, this may be eye-opening to people who were in school decades ago.
Yeah.
I think that although they teach you well-rounded things, not all of it is life applicable.
And even if it's this subject or topic you may be taught, even if let's say it may be important, like it still may not be for what you want to do. And like, I'm gonna keep it real, I didn't like a lot of the stuff you don't retain. Like even stuff, not even middle school. Like there's stuff I learned in high school that's just over 2 years ago that I don't remember because I don't need it, and it just wasn't important enough for my brain to put it on on the front lines.
You maybe might remember it enough to pass the test.
Well, yeah, because I mean every kid, no matter what grade you're in, will remember something enough to at least pass the test, whether it's like just a test, like whether it's like a state test or like final exam or whatever. But after that, it all just goes out the window.
I'd say definitely for subjects like math and science, which are probably my least two favorite. Like probably they feed you things you're like, okay, this is very smart sounding stuff and well rounds me as a educated individual, but only so many people are going to need this if they become a scientist or a mathematical engineer or an accountant.
Like because I mean, both of us really, especially me, like I was never good at math. Like once they added letters into the equation, literally, it was over for me. My career was over.
I think it
Okay?
went down to maybe around
No,
seventh,
I
eighth
literally
grade.
remember sixth grade, I'm chilling. Seventh grade, I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
what the heck is going on?
Yeah,
dude?
yeah.
Literally, what the heck? And so, and like, yeah, I think it's dumb because like, so obviously you need basic math, you need multiplication, and to do some forms of algebra for daily life, for to money, whatever. But
Yeah, basic algebra and geometry are actually
yeah,
important.
but now there are some things where I'm like, unless you are going into like a math heavy field, so like, you know, sciences where you need to with like, I don't know, elements. I don't know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
But like a really math or science heavy field,
Oh, yeah.
you don't need to know things. Like if I go to the grocery store and I'm trying to pick up a bag of Doritos and a Mountain Dew, I don't need to do the quadratic formula to figure out it's gonna be fit. It's gonna be 5.97. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah,
Like,
I know. I feel you.
it doesn't work like that.
Teachers really be like, you'll be using the Pythagorean theorem every day of your life.
Yeah, it's like you're going past. I've seen those memes where it's like this dude's in a car. He's going by a stop sign and it has like like the equation for pi, and it's like solve the equation so you figure out the speed limit. It's like, that just doesn't work like that.
Yeah. That's a funny point. 'Cause
Yeah.
math generally in every day, unless you're doing dimensions and stuff.
Yeah.
Very simple. You literally just add or subtract or divide
Yeah.
things.
No, like doing measurements like construction and stuff. Yeah, you need to know a little bit more like fractions and stuff. But yeah, everyday basic math, like everything you need to know was already taught to you by like 5th grade,
Yeah.
and that's a fact.
So I almost think like, you have the basics, and then maybe by the time you get through middle school and you get to high school, it's like, okay, if you're interested in learning this stuff, we'll give it to you. But all this other stuff, maybe we'll transfer it to college so that if you want to use that as a career skill, you can learn advanced sciences and math.
And I just like it's like sometimes it's like if I've learned all of this already and if you already know you're not going into that field, I don't think you should be obligated to learn that math. I mean, now, obviously, there's just generally smart people out there, which, there were kids in my class that were just naturally good at math and smart, and they would always take, like, the next higher and higher and higher math levels.
Yeah.
But, like, me, like, I remember it was either my junior or senior year, and I was talking to my counselor, and she was like, okay, so what math do you want to take next year? Here are all your options. And I remember just like I was like straight up asking
You
her.
said which one's
I
the
literally
easiest?
asked her. I was like, which one is the easiest?
Yeah.
Because it was like, again, I'm terrible at math, and it was literally just like pre-calculus, XYZ7, like all this other stuff. And she was just like, I'm not gonna say this one's the easiest, but out of these ones, this one is the least hard. I don't know what she said, but I was just like, well, I'll take that one.
Yeah.
But
Opinion. Things like calculus should not even be taught in high school unless you're genuinely interested.
exactly, that's what I'm saying. If you know in your heart, never gonna use it, I don't want to know about it.
But
I don't want to know.
Personally, I never even took a class like that.
No, I'm telling you, I'm not even afraid to say, like, I never even, the highest math I took was like intermediate algebra, straight up.
I think I got to algebra 2.
Oh, I wasn't that good. I'm gonna be honest.
But I can't be sure about that.
Yeah, no, it's just I was like, I'm not doing this, so I don't need to learn it. So.
And I think the 2 most useful maths I had in like, higher grade scale was probably in 10th I had geometry, which, is pretty important. And then I think it was probably 11th or 12th I think we both took financial math.
Yeah, okay, now here's when math classes can be good. Is now one, I mean, geometry, I mean, do I use it every day? No. But I didn't mind geometry. Yeah. It wasn't terribly hard. I was okay at it, and not a good teacher, so that worked out. But yeah, but financial math, yeah, we both had it. It was a financial algebra class.
Mm-hmm.
And I really liked that class because not only
it was still challenging.
It was like, but it wasn't like dumb hard.
Yeah.
It was challenging, so you still had to put the time and effort in to, like, remember the equations, put in the work, But at the same time, uh, the way, I don't know if we had the same teacher, but like the way it was taught to me at least, we would always use it in real life situations, and that's when I thought it was helpful because she
They talked about paying bills.
yeah, my teacher, we had this whole section and she taught us, like here's how to balance a credit card, pay bills, make sure weekly and stuff like that, and it was like stuff that you actually need to learn to function as an adult in this society rather than find XYZ.
For sure.
So
yeah, I think again when it comes to high school level, teaching critical life skills should be the focus.
It should be number one.
Any subject.
Yeah.
Doing equations and quadratic formulas, it works your mind.
Yeah.
But it's not, and like me in 5 years, I'm like, I couldn't tell you how to do that.
I couldn't tell you how to do it right now. I have no idea.
But so I think classes like that are very beneficial, and that's probably my number one thing that I would request for the school system to do is to reevaluate the high school curriculums and to make quite literally almost every class applicable to real life or to life learning.
Hey, any teacher association people out there, government officials, this is for you. Yeah,
bring it up at a meeting.
Bring it up at a meeting. All right. Yeah, I agree with Justin. The first and foremost thing that school should teach you is basic life skills for you to be a functioning adult in our society.
Yeah.
Which is still, math, science, history, and English. But make sure that what they need to do is make sure that the students have those skills down and that they can, self-sustain. And then if the student or like if the teacher thinks the student is ready or if the student wants to, then you can go on to higher maths, which may not be for everybody because they might not need it. So that's when you can go into like your calculus 1, 2, and like your algebras and stuff like that. That's what they should do.
Look at us. We're literally spitting absolute facts right now. Absolute
facts. There is no cap right here.
We're out here making cultural movements for the education of the future.
I'm about to start a petition.
But yeah. So yeah, that's something that we feel very strongly about the school system.
Yeah.
Any other roasting or flack you want to throw at the school system?
Dude, okay. Wait, no, this is a good thing though. I think everybody in our generation, if there's one, literally, you can pick out one thing out of 12 years of school. If there's one thing that I will remember for the rest of my life, every single day, and that I think every kid and like me and your age bracket, so anybody from like 25 and under.
I know what you're gonna say.
Everybody and their mother knows that the mitochondria is the powerhouse of the cell. Okay, it literally is, and I remember that for the rest of my life. So you're good job, like 6th grade, 7th grade science teachers. You did your job well.
It doesn't necessarily change how I live my life, but
I know it. I can sleep well at night knowing that I know what the powerhouse of the cell is.
You can be like, wow, my cells are really working hard.
Wow, my dudes down there are really putting in work. Okay,
you got to be mindful of your mitochondria health.
Yeah. So anyway, I'm glad I know that. So
yeah. So compared to school 50 years ago, I think things have changed a lot.
Yeah.
How kids are taught. Something that would be interesting, I think that school boards and teachers should have more input from the students and be like, so how do you feel about this? And do you feel like this is helping you?
Yeah. Now, obviously, it can't be like, 100% up to the students because some students out there are just going to give some whack opinions and like feedback. But they definitely should be some feedback from the students, of like what they think of certain subjects. If they think, it's really... I guess not really important, but just what they think about it and stuff.
There's obviously in school, kids are going to be rebellious and be like, oh, I don't want to learn anything. I just want to,
sleep.
Sleep in study hall and
my study hall
go hang out at the locker. But
okay, yeah.
But yeah, the school system needs to change for the betterment.
It's only a little busted, but that's all right.
Future.
It's all right.
we need tweaking in the future. So listen to the past generations to make things better.
Yeah.
So that's pretty much what we gotta say about that.
Yeah.
So you want to talk about our feelings on a certain year of our school?
So, I think me and Justin collectively can probably agree on this. I feel like it was probably more so me, but
I experienced it first, but you got it worse.
I experienced it worse than Justin did. So now, out of 13 years of schooling that I had, like in school, there was only 1 year out of all of those that I would classify as actually bad.
Yeah.
That it was a bad experience.
Like,
Other years were good. Some years were great. Some years were terrific. Some years, I mean, it was just okay. It was just a year of school.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing crazy, nothing terrible. It was just okay. But then there's 1 year out of all of them. And every time I think about it, it just annoys me. It makes me mad. And for me,
and most of it wasn't even your fault.
no, literally most of it wasn't. And for me, that would be 9th grade freshman year.
Poor freshmen.
Poor freshmen. And this is, I would say, honestly, this is mostly the reason why I chose to go to the vocational school afterwards. It's because after this experience, I was just like, I just don't want to do this again. I don't want to deal with this again. And that's why I was like, I want to go to this vocational school and learn something that I want to learn.
Yeah.
So.
And, most people think, oh, freshman year's bad because it's the transition to high school and you're not a middle schooler anymore.
No, that
it didn't have anything.
That
to do
wasn't
with
even
that.
it at all. I had no issue. To me, it was just another year of school, but we were technically now high schoolers. But the worst part of it was the lessons that were taught and the teachers that I had that gave them are what ruined it for me.
Yeah, the whole structure of the 9th grade experience at the school during this was honestly, we might just say it was a mess.
Yeah, it was kind of a mess. Because I mean, teachers were always coming and going, so there was a lot of things happening. Now, I will say, my English teacher that I had for 9th grade, I actually, if it wasn't for him, it would have been so much worse. I loved my 9th grade English teacher. He was great. He was a younger guy, really cool, really fun. We always did cool stuff and fun stuff, and he was funny. So he really made it easy during the school year. And it didn't help that the 2 areas in school that I am probably the worst in, which is math and science, is where I had 2 of the 2 teachers that I did not like and that taught bad.
Yeah.
And I just remember 9th grade. We go in. We obviously new year, new teacher, everything, and I honestly think from day one, our teacher, we walked in, she was like, "Hi," she said her name. We all did the thing. You don't want to introduce yourselves, yada yada yada. I literally think from day one, maybe day 2, it was literally, open your books, read this section, and answer these questions from day 1. And now
she didn't teach the lesson.
And you might think, oh well, that's just no. It wasn't literally. The teacher I had, out of what, like how many months were you in school? What's that, like 9 months out of the year? 8 or 9 months out of the year. I literally think she probably only did a physical lesson with us a couple times. I'd say less than 10.
Yikes.
The whole entire year. We had to class every single day. It was literally every single day was open your books, read this, answer questions, open your books every single day. And so, like, some people it might work, but like me, I am both like a visual learner. So like I need to see things and like have somebody teach me things for me to like remember it. I can't just read something and then remember, especially something as intense as physical science, I feel like. So
you also have kind of like, I don't know if I remember this right, but you kind of had a pretty wild experience with your science teacher.
Yeah. So, what's without trying to say too much, but so the teacher that we had uh, during like the first part of the school, she told us that before this becoming a teacher, she was a scientist,
Mm-hmm.
and she had all these degrees in school and science, saying that she was a scientist for her job, and you know, I know teaching can be difficult, but like I don't, it's just she did not teach us anything. There was a time in the year where um, almost all of the students in the entire class had grades like C or lower.
Yeah.
And like even the quote unquote smart kids,
Yeah.
which were always had good grades, had grades like C's, D's, and lower.
Yikes.
And not just like a couple of kids, not even just the kids that goof off, but even the kids.
Oh yeah, because like the whole class was like
The whole-
borderline failing.
My whole ninth grade science class was on the borderline of failing science, which is crazy.
And then they were trying to take it out on you guys, right?
Yeah, I cannot stress it enough that it literally was like we would read, we would write down the answers, and then we would test. That's all we would do in her class. And like I said, we had a couple times we did some experiments, which were okay, but I kept coming home, with all these bad grades. And
You're trying to do your homework.
I'm trying to do my homework, and we had a lot of homework too. These big books, and same thing we did in class. We had to do for homework. And so I come home, mom would be like, what's going on?
Yeah.
And then, so my mom worked at the school, and she was talking with some other teachers who had kids in my class, and they're all saying the same things, and it was just absurd. Yeah, the amount of just what was going on. Probably, I don't want to sound harsh, but it's probably the worst teacher I've ever had in my entire life.
Sometimes you just
gotta say it. I mean, obviously I'm not gonna name drop, but
yeah. We don't gotta elaborate on it too much, but you just say
the fact that they almost made an entire class fail.
Yeah.
Speaks for itself. So let's just. Yeah.
It's pretty unfortunate. And all this was happening within the same year.
Yeah,
so.
and then the transfer over. When I wasn't in my bad science class, I was in my bad math class.
That's horrible.
And now it wasn't to the same degree, but it still was pretty similar. I was taking Algebra 1, which I feel like is a crucial math. Like, everybody learns Algebra 1, and it helps you later on in high school.
Yeah, it's the first high school math.
Yes. So my very first high school math class, Algebra 1, I had a teacher who Justin had years prior.
Yeah, that was my same one.
Yeah, but I had, and
which I think honestly it got worse for you.
Yeah,
so.
no, when Justin had this teacher, I don't think it was as bad, and I think it just got worse each year. My teacher, now, it wasn't as bad as the science teacher, but it was still just like, we would go over things, we would go over, lessons on the board, and we would go over, like things in the book, but I mean it's gonna be kind of hard to explain it, but like the way she would explain things just like did not make sense to me.
Yeah.
And I just remember every night, obviously I wouldn't be able to finish my homework at school, so I'd have to obviously take it home, and it would just be super hard. I'd ask mom, she wouldn't have any idea. We'd be looking it up, no idea. I'd just have to guess, and it was just the way, again, that she taught it, that there were multiple people in her class that were not doing well,
Yeah.
And I just remember it just wasn't good. I just remember every test would come back and it just was not good. And
So
overall, it was probably just the most stressful and just terrible time in my life, probably. But
I think you explained that well. I mean, I kind of experienced the same thing, but yours was just to a further degree.
Yeah.
For me also, that's a transitional year of school. For me, it was even weird because they were remodeling the high school, and so our class was at a college campus
Yeah.
for half the year.
Yeah.
So we're all separated, and my classes and teachers, it was getting increasingly difficult and
Yeah.
confusing in a teaching way. And so I think our decision to go to the vocational school was a nice breath
of fresh air.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because after what I had experienced that ninth grade year, that's why I was like, I mean, I didn't know if those teachers were going to stay, if they were going to go. That's why I was like, I just cannot go through this again. So I was like, yeah, I'm 100% going to the vocational school.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was just, I will say though, if it wasn't for like I said, my ninth grade English teacher and my ninth grade gym teacher, shout out to them.
Yeah.
Because they were real ones.
Okay.
Great teachers. Really just, their classes were never stressful, and it was just so easy. So it was just definitely glad to have those. So
yeah, I think in review of that thought, although we really did appreciate and like going to
the school that
our
we were
school
at.
of doing this, once we got to higher grades, it just wasn't working out.
Yeah,
for
like
us.
I said, I have nothing bad to say about elementary or middle school. Just great experiences, but
so it left a nice impression for us. But we also needed.
But I was ready for something new.
Yeah. So to go on more of a lighthearted yet
a lighthearted tangent.
What's something else school class related?
Another thing
that we want to touch on.
We have some opinions on is some of the books and things that they have you read in English class. like just so weird.
No, granted, I like English and language arts.
English is probably my favorite subject.
Yeah, when I was younger, I liked reading.
Yeah.
I honestly didn't even mind writing papers.
No,
or doing book reports.
I didn't, because if it was a book, something that I was interested in, and that was fun and interesting and easy, then like I had no problem writing 2 or 3 pages about it.
Yeah.
So it wasn't that hard. I didn't have any issues writing papers either.
So I never really had a bad English class.
No,
experience.
Neither did I. No.
But if I may go first.
Yeah, go first.
Still, books that you read in middle school and mostly high school were very memorable for me, and for multiple reasons.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was 7th grade, especially. The books that we read in English were some of the most depressing books I have ever read.
Yeah, I'm like, why? Who is like, yes, let's just make all these children depressed with these books.
Like, this is just teaching me that, hey,
the world is cruel.
The world is cruel, and life can suck.
Yeah.
But because we read, I think in the same year, and it was 2 books about dogs dying. We read Call of the Wild and Where the Red Fern Grows.
Oh, we read that too in 7th grade, I think. Yeah.
And spoiler alert, at the end of both of those books, all the dogs die.
Yeah, it's just not good.
So I'm like, these books aren't doing anything for me.
Like, I mean, I don't know if these are like literary masterpieces or just like works of English, but like I was like,
they're considered.
This is not the type of book that I think like a 14-year-old is gonna be like moved by.
I'm like, wow, this really made me think deeply about my life.
This piece of literature made me reevaluate my existence.
Like, because it's considered not exactly like Mark Twain level, but like early 20th century literature.
Yeah,
that is
like,
influential, but because
I almost forgot about that one.
Yeah,
we read that too.
Call of the Wild was actually kind of interesting.
We didn't read it. I don't think
it was interesting, but depressing.
Yeah.
Whereas Where the Red Fern Grows, I'm like, man, this is not a good book
it's
at
like,
all.
All right, who wants to be absolutely sad for like 30 chapters? Me. Like, no.
Like, if you think Old Yeller's bad, I mean.
Yeah.
And
they really started off with 7th grade with some sad books.
And then once we got to high school, I read some good ones in high school. For example, in 11th, I think, I read The Great Gatsby.
I never read that.
Which it was a early
20th
century book.
Yeah.
It was, just about culture and society, high society, kind of interesting. The movie was cool too, with
Tobey Maguire.
Tobey Maguire and DiCaprio.
Yeah. I'm gonna keep it real. I don't think I read one book in high school that I enjoyed reading. They were just all weird, bad, or boring.
What was your least favorite one?
Oh, I know we've already talked about this. I think probably the worst book I have ever laid my eyes upon and forced to read is the book Fahrenheit 451.
What a terrible book.
Okay, I don't care what you say. I now if you're a listener out there and you like the book, I'm sorry, but I'm about to roast this book into next week. Okay.
It's funny because the book is literally about
burning
books.
Yeah. I'm sorry for like this book, but I think it's probably the worst book I've ever read. Now, like, because and if you're not familiar, from what I remember, it's set in the future, and like I don't know how far in the future. It's like 50 years or something in the future. I don't know.
It's some sort of like
dystopian future. Yeah, where like books are banned and like expressing yourself through literature is banned. So like all these books get burned, and there's like firefighters that burn books. I don't know. But
and what's kind of dumb though is you can quite tell that it was written in like the 50s.
Oh, definitely, yeah, for sure. And reading this book, literally. Now I remember. I basically remember nothing. I don't remember the main character or anything. There's not one thing in that book that ever made me interested, excited, or made me feel any other emotion except for bored.
It didn't really make sense.
It didn't make sense.
It was boring.
Yeah. Now I told Justin this, and I'm 100% serious when I say this. I know there's like kids are like, oh, it was so boring, I fell asleep in class, yada yada yada. I genuinely
fell asleep in class?
Actually fell asleep on my desk while we were reading this book. I remember the day so vividly. Literally, we're in class, and ironically, I sat in the front row. It was like the front left.
Yeah.
And the teacher, he was on the far right of the room. But anyway, I'm front row, and and what we would, and some days he would read it, but most times we would have like the audiobook read it. Oh my goodness, I just remember sitting there with my book, like laying half down. And the audiobook, I literally remember I fell asleep, I think for like a whole chapter or something. I remember I woke up, not like abrupt, I didn't want to be like, like, and everybody looking at me, but I woke my eyes and I just slowly look up.
Oh, man.
And we're still reading this book. And I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. We're still reading this book. I thought we had like finished the reading for the day. And it was just unbelievably boring. Never again will I pick up this book. So yeah, 1 out of 5 stars.
Yeah. Another one that wasn't necessarily terrible, but was just kind of weird and pointless was Of Mice of Men.
Yeah, we were just discussing this.
Like, we were just talking about, like, the only thing you really get from it is that,
bad things happen.
Bad things happen, and if you're slow, you're going to get put down.
Oh my gosh. I mean, to put it that way, yeah, but like...
Out of context, it sounds terrible, but if you know what the book's about...
But, like, I don't know why the weirdest books are the ones that are like the most critically acclaimed, and the ones that the higher up people are like, yes, every kid must read this book. It's like, do we really, or do you just like this book so you want everybody else to read it? You know what I mean?
Yeah, just in general with all culture, just because something is maybe older and classical doesn't mean that it's like legendary tier.
Yeah.
Or like actually good literature.
And like, I mean, unless you're like some woke teenager with that sees like the morals and behind the hidden meanings of everything, like I'm sure I couldn't even tell you what the hidden meanings are of Fahrenheit 451 or Of Mice and Men.
Yeah.
Because like what at least what 9th grader is sitting there like, yes, these are the deeper meanings of life. I'm like, no, dude, I'm about to go home and watch YouTube for the next 6 hours. Like, what do you mean?
Play Minecraft.
I'm gonna go play Minecraft. Not. Yes. What is the grippling? What is the author trying to write in these grippling pages of this story? You know,
well, the only discernible message I could get from Fahrenheit is maybe it's like commentary on the whole like book ban thing.
Yeah, but again, like, I'm sorry, that just did not interest me at all.
But then, from what I can remember, I don't really know what the message of Mice and Men was.
Yeah, I don't remember either.
Another book like The Giver.
Yeah, The Giver.
Those two books, like, they were kind of about nothing.
The only thing I liked about The Giver is that we watched a movie in class. And I don't care what movie it is. If we watch a movie in class, it was a good time.
Whenever you're like, if there's a movie, at least I have something to look forward to at the end of this.
And I think Jeff Bridges was in that movie, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I think
so. I like Jeff Bridges, so we were good with that.
I think we watched it, but it was still a mid-movie.
It was, yeah.
And a mid-story.
Yeah. But so this is a good segue because of all the weird books, like, why do the books in high school have to be like so serious or so sad and so just like boring, whereas in middle school and elementary school, now obviously, I mean, like, the books then, they were fun, interesting,
Yeah.
and exciting. Now obviously you can't read, like, you know, the same books in elementary school that you read in high school,
Yeah.
because for obvious reasons. But why can't the books in high school that you read still be as fun, entertaining, and interesting as the ones in middle school? You
True.
know?
Yeah, middle school books are actually usually pretty good.
Yeah.
And then, elementary, you're just like reading whatever
Yeah.
the rainbow fish or whatever.
Yeah. Because I know we had talked about this, but I remember specifically an example when I was in 8th grade. My English teacher, we had this project where she was going to assign each of us a book that she thought that we would enjoy.
Ooh, okay.
So based off, what our personality, our likes, our dislikes, stuff like that. And which I thought was interesting because that means and I like that because that shows that the teacher really thought about each student and what they wanted.
Sure, yeah.
And what they might have liked. And, happily enough, the book that she recommended I read, because we had to do a book report on it, I actually really enjoyed, and I still remember to this day. It was called Floors, and it was this story about this kid who and his dad had owned this hotel, and it was, and it wasn't a normal hotel. It was like each floor had some sort of different crazy theme, and things would happen. It kind of reminded me of the movie Mr. Megorium's Wonder Emporium.
Yeah.
Kind of reminded me of that. All
Okay.
these crazy things were happening, and it was just really interesting because each floor, all these fun and crazy things would happen, and it was just exciting to read and then do a book report on. Whereas, like, yeah, why can't we still read adventure books or
Like,
things that still have
That really connects to a kid.
yeah, it does. Because I remember that to this day. And whereas these books, do I remember them? Maybe, yeah, a little bit. But I just remember, like, the negative things about it,
Yeah, that brings to mind a similar experience in my English class. I can't speak today. I think it was also in 11th grade, which I liked most of the books that we read then because I read Gatsby. And then my teacher did a thing where she got a book for every kid in the class, wrapped them up, and let you pick a random one.
Oh.
And then once you pick it out, you get to see what you got.
Oh, that's kind of scary.
Yeah, and some kids...
they would get bad stuff like, I don't want this.
Once they said, they'd be like, yo, trade me. I don't want this one.
Yeah.
I'm like, no.
I ain't trading you.
Because I got a really good one.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed it. It was the I Am Number 4.
Oh, I remember you telling me about that, yeah.
So that was a really fun book to read and make a book report about.
Yeah.
And it has a whole series, and I read a few of the other ones. They were really cool because it's about, if I recall, it's like teenagers who are like, I don't know if they were aliens or if they just had special powers.
Yeah.
And they were being hunted by like alien assassins.
Oh, that's cool.
But like, they were called Number 4 because I think there was like 8 children.
Ah.
And the assassin could only hunt them down by their number one at a time.
Oh, so it was about one kid.
Yeah.
Oh.
So
see, that sounds exciting and like suspenseful.
he's running until the assassin gets to Number 4.
Yeah, see, why can't I be reading about like alien assassins, but I gotta read about burning books? Like,
Yeah.
what is this?
So yeah, I really enjoyed that. It's probably more for teenage tastes, but I enjoyed it. The movie was terrible. But
Oh, that's unfortunate.
yeah, it had really good movie potential. But
Yeah.
if you're into that kind of stuff, check it out.
But I mean, I can't think of. Oh no, a short story. I do remember, 5th grade, our teacher was gonna have us read Holes.
Oh, Holes is a classic.
A
Come on.
classic. But me being the 5th grader that I was, a little kid, I mean, even if it's something I didn't want to read the book. But we had seen the Holes movie so many times prior to that.
It's a staple.
It's a staple in this household. So it was funny because I read like the first couple chapters, but then I was like, I ain't watching this. I mean, I ain't reading this. No, I know. I already know what happens.
I know the movie.
I know the movie.
I'm on a first name basis with Stanley.
I know, dude. And I'm like, come on, yelling at? That's my guy, But so I remember every week we would have like end of chapter quizzes. It just a couple questions like, what did this character do? What did they say? Stuff like that. And I just remember, since I had already seen the movie, I didn't even have to read the book, and I already like knew most of the answers, and I got like good scores in all of my tests, and I just never read the book.
That's how work the system.
Because I mean, you would never know, because since I was so familiar with the story already, I could just fill out the answers, and then we watched the movie after we finished reading the book.
You're like, yeah, I got it all right.
I was like, duh, yeah, I knew what was gonna happen, but that's yeah. See, that's another good book, but that from middle school or elementary, whatever, but.
To relate a scene from the movie, your teacher would be like, you need to read this, and you're like, I'm tired of this, and
I'm
they're
tired
like,
of this, Grandpa.
that's too dang bad.
yeah, that was basically English teachers in 5th grade. Oh my goodness.
Watch the movie, it's amazing.
If you haven't seen the movie, it's great. You'll understand that scene.
I just had to
get yourself some sploosh.
Yo. Oh, there's so many great moments.
We were just referencing the other day when we pulled in the weeds.
Oh.
We were like, yo, it's an onion or it's a radish.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Yeah, just those weird things that we're really into.
That
for
we're
some
really
reason.
into. It's all right. You should know by now. If you've listened to 14 episodes of this podcast.
If you're still here, you're here for this kind of content.
Yeah. So,
well,
I think that nicely wraps up our school discussion, what we do like, what we don't like, what needs to change, and how it should change.
Yeah, maybe if you're of our generation, you agree with us.
Yeah, let us know if you have similar opinions, if you've read some of the same books as us and have similar opinions, different opinions, or just let us know what year was your favorite and what year was your least favorite. We'll be glad to hear that.
We'd be interested. Yes.
So that wraps up today's episode, and remember to check us out on Instagram at Fresh Squeeze Pod, as well as if you listen on Spotify. We also are on YouTube, and if you're on YouTube, we're also on Spotify. So check us out either way. So back and forth. And that about wraps up for this episode. Anything left to say, Justin?
Just go read a good book.
Go read a good book. It's good for you.
Yeah.
Other than that, we'll catch you guys next week. See ya.
Okay, see ya.